Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you. We would like to welcome all our guests, especially New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio, School Chancellor Carmen Fariña, Deputy Mayor Richard Bury, all elected officials who are visiting us here today. My name is Manuel Ramirez. I'm the principal of CMSP 327, one of the schools that is housed in this building. The other schools are Mount Eden Children Academy, this is 95 P10X, and also New Settlement Community Center. We're very proud to have you here today, very proud of hosting this event, as much as we are proud of the type of work that we have been doing in this community campus since last year when we opened our doors and partnered with New Settlement Apartments. Just for you to have an idea, through our partnership and collaboration with New Settlement Apartments, this building now has, these schools now have a full equipped clinic supervised by Montefiore Hospital with a full-time doctor, a registered nurse, mental health provider to address the social emotional aspect of adolescent growth. Our students are given the opportunity to take swimming classes. We also have been receiving workshops and college trips using New Settlement College Access Center. Our students attend a homework center that is run by Bronx Helpers, also run by New Settlement. Nutrition information in the classrooms using wellness in the schools. I could go on forever on this one, right? This is just an example, the type of activities and programs that our students have been able to enjoy and to participate because of the collaboration that we have with New Settlement in this building. Now, all of it, without compromising for a second the laser-like focus on academics that our students receive. Our school is preparing students for college, period. And we're going to equip them with high-quality education so they can take on any rigorous instructional college later on. But this is not a job that has been done in isolation. This is a job that is done by a team. Okay, and we are all in our building council, custodial staff participates, cafeteria staff, the clinic, safety agents who are wonderful in this building. And we have been able to build a team. And this team respects each other's opinion, backgrounds, ideas. We respect one another because we all understand the value of the job that has to be done here. Now, as I was thinking last night, I said, wow, this team is the village that will rise and educate the children of this community. And I said to myself, this is a winning team. I'm going to bet on this team. I'm going to bet that we will provide the education that we all believe that our students deserve. And I say I'm going to bet on this because we cannot afford to lose this bet. We can't. And there's too much at stake. And besides that, we can't lose this bet because I don't want to see Jack Doyle singing I Love Brooklyn on Jimmy Kimmel Live, right? Ladies and gentlemen, New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio.
Manny just brought up a painful episode in my life. I had thought I had put it behind me, but you brought it back so sharply. Yeah. Sometimes at night in my dreams, I see Jimmy Kimmel again. So I want to thank Manny for his extraordinary work as principal of MS 327. This is one of the programs here in this amazing building where just extraordinary things are happening. I want to thank you for being a big part of that success. I want to thank Jack Doyle, who I got to know last year, the executive director of the New Settlement Community Campus, for his great leadership. I want to thank the principal of PS 555, Jessica Torres Mejia. And I want to see if help me here with the number. Carmen, you want to help me? Is that right? P10X. That's a new one. Barbara Hansen, the principal of P10X. Thank you. You're going to hear from a number of members of the administration. I want to thank them all for being here. I want to thank our Health Commissioner, Mary Bassett, who is a huge proponent of the kind of programs that come with the community school model. And we thank her for all of her participation and support of our efforts, pre-K, after school, community schools, the whole set. And that is a segue into how I want to frame what we're talking about today. The idea of where we're trying to go with our school system is to build one reform upon another and have them all add up to a very different reality for our children and for our families. Obviously, the first major thrust was our pre-K effort. We're now building upon that with a substantial after-school effort that you'll see this summer and going into the fall, and the community schools effort. It's the next wave after that. And they all fit together to create a very different reality in our school system. If you want to see what the schools of tomorrow will look like in New York City, you have come to the right place, because here at New Settlement, a lot of it is already happening. And everyone at New Settlement should be proud. Give yourselves a round of applause. And a special thank you to the parents who are here with us for being because, as I always like to say, as parents, we're the first and last teachers of our children. And the whole thing works when parents are involved. And that's another piece of what we're changing about our school system with Chancellor Fariña's leadership. So, putting it in context, we believe in pre-K, we believe in after school, we believe in community schools. We need all of these pieces to be moving to really transform our school system. And here in this building, each and every one of them is happening right now. And the fact is, and you should talk to these parents because I'll tell you from their own experience what a difference it makes in the lives of their children. We're going to do all of those efforts simultaneously. We're going to greatly deepen the connection between our teachers and our parents. That's one of the big reforms in the new teacher contract. We're going to do a whole series of reforms from the contract. All of these pieces have to synergize to create a very different and better school system. Here at New Settlement, you can see it with your own eyes. There's a full-service medical clinic in this building. There's a community center, there's a rooftop garden. It is a place that is welcoming of parents and families. It's a place that recognizes the education of the child must involve the family. Someone I used to work for had a phrase, "It takes a village to raise a child." She borrowed it from an African proverb. It's true. It's fundamentally true. Here at New Settlement, that's happening, and the results are striking. We believe in the community school model. We believe in the notion that bringing parents into the schools, providing the health care services and other supports for the whole family, change fundamentally our ability to educate our children. It's a proven model originated here in New York City, as Richard Bury likes to attest from his former life at the Children's Aid Society. It has worked around the country, most notably in Cincinnati, Ohio, where the entire school system works on the community school model. It is the shape of things to come. I have pledged that we will have 100 community schools in the city by the end of this term. The state of New York is going to match that with another 100 community schools all over the state. And today, we're proud to announce $52 million in grants to create 40 new community schools that will open this September. This fall. And when you think about it, being able to reach the whole child, being able to take care of the health care needs of the child right on the spot, address problems as they occur, get ahead of problems, do preventative care, addressing the child's needs across the board in the academic context is going to uplift everything we're doing in our schools. You're going to be hearing a lot more about the community schools effort throughout the summer and fall. And my message to principals and my message to heads of community-based organizations that are interested is apply now, because these grants have just been announced and there's a great chance to build your school into a community school if you qualify. So the time is now. Now again, we've started so strongly with our pre-K effort. We're now deepening our after-school effort. We're moving into our community schools effort. All these pieces go together. Let me give you an update on what we're doing with after-school, because I've said all along, I hear this from parents all the time, after-school is such a huge difference maker. It extends the learning day, provides an enrichment that's not there without it, keeps kids safe and sound, helps kids to the right path, including a lot of young people at the middle school level where we're focused, who might be tempted by some of the negative dynamics around them. It gives them a positive option. And this is something we have to do more and more in our society, is actually put our money where our mouth is. If we want kids to take the right path, we have to make that path available to them. And that's what we're going to do with these after-school programs. Starting this summer, going into the next school year, and finishing in the year after that, we will do a couple of different things. We're going to expand after-school opportunities for middle school kids to the point that any middle school child who needs after-school during the school year will have the right to it for free. Any child who needs it will get it. This starts with the $145 million commitment we've made for the coming fiscal year. That will expand to $190 million for fiscal year 16. So it'll be a 2-year rollout, but we'll reach the point, just as our pre-K plan does, where every child who needs to be served will be served. And we have selected 200, and this is an important piece of news, an important piece of progress, we've selected 271 providers who will be offering an impressive array of programs to our kids. So that means that starting this September in all 5 boroughs, there'll be many more options for our middle school kids, many more seats available, many more ways to match a child's need to an after-school program. And we're very excited about what this is going to do, because it means a lot of kids who may have been falling behind a little bit are now going to have that helping hand. They're going to have that homework help, that tutoring, that enrichment. They're going to have that opportunity to have some one-on-one support from professionals who can help them after school. It's going to be transcendent for a lot of kids. And now we've chosen the providers, so people are about to see the exact locations that they can participate in starting this fall. But there's another piece that's absolutely crucial, which is we know our kids lose some of their momentum. Some kids who most need to keep up the achievement they've made in the school year, unfortunately in the summer months, start to fall behind again. So a lot of effort is put into helping them to get to grade level, and it starts to atrophy when they don't have the constant reinforcement of teaching and enrichment and support. Which is why the summer element of our after-school program is so crucial, because we're going to reach a lot of kids who need that extra boost, and we're going to do it this summer. We're proud to announce that we are doubling the number of spaces available for middle school kids for this summer. Summer enrichment programs happening this summer will double from 17,000 to 34,000 seats for middle school kids all over the city. When you add that to the seats we already have for elementary school kids, that'll take us to a total of 55,000 kids who will participate in the summer enrichment programs. So more and more, the message we're sending to our children is, we're investing in you. We believe in you. We're not going to let you fall. If you're having a challenge, we're going to address that challenge. We're going to support you. We're going to give you more opportunity, not less. And the message we're sending to parents is, we understand how difficult it is to be a parent in New York City. And you need and deserve support. So we're constantly going to be creating more options, whether it's pre-K, whether it's after school, whether it's summer programs, whether it's community schools. We're going to be creating a host of options, a host of opportunities to help parents do what is their most important job in life, which is supporting their children. But against all the odds in this city, parents do it every day. It's time they got more help, and all of these efforts will help them. And again, with the enrichment programs this summer, 17,000 more New York children will benefit right now. You'll hear from the Chancellor in a moment. She is, in all of our discussions, I have seen her passionate on many topics in education, but the impact of the summer continuity is one that she knows so well as a teacher and a principal before she became Chancellor, and she can speak to the effect this has. What does it mean, by the way? These enrichment programs extend all of our other educational efforts. Let me give you examples. The kids throughout July and into August can do things like they can learn from ecologists at the Staten Island Zoo. They can learn photography from professional photographers. They can go learn about the life of plants at the New York Botanical Garden. They can visit historical sites and learn about the history of New York City. They can hone their musical talents. A host of activities that deepen their skills, deepen their commitment to education, show them what they're capable of. Now, you've heard me say before, I am a public school parent. I think many people know that. And so I think from the perspective of parents, all the things go on in our lives, all the busyness of our lives, we sometimes have to be reminded that if we want these great opportunities for our children, we have to sign up for them. And when is the best time to sign up for things that could help your children? Now. I happen to have a handy sign-up form. Summer enrichment programs for middle school students. Once again, with our ACE team here, we have reduced the bureaucracy, we've reduced the paperwork down to one page. One page. There is no back of the page. It's one page on the front side of the page. We are saving some trees here in New York City with our one-page forms. But please, let every parent you know who wants to take advantage of these summer enrichment programs or the after-school programs that we'll build out starting in September, it's important to apply as soon as the opportunities are available. I think I've said that a number of times on the pre-K front as well. I will keep saying it because it's important for parents to know. Now, just a quick moment en español. Hoy hemos dado un gran paso para asegurar el éxito de nuestros estudiantes. Hemos doblado. Hemos doblado el número de programas gratis de verano para estudiantes de entre sexto y octavo grado. Y en septiembre muchos más estudiantes de grados intermedios tendrán acceso a programas para después de la escuela. Busque información y registre a su hijo hoy. registre a su hijo hoy. Second syllable. Registre. Oh, thank you. I've been informed of an updated pronunciation. They've just changed it. Busque información y registre. Registre a su hijo hoy. That is a lot easier than being on Jimmy Kimmel, let me tell you. With that, I want to welcome the woman who makes all of these great changes happen in our schools and is doing an extraordinary job as the leader of the New York City Public Schools, our Chancellor Carmen Fariña.
Thank you. First of all, I want to thank the staff of everything in this. This is my 4th visit to this school. It's the only school in the city of New York that I have been to this many times. And that's because I came first to look at a good middle school, which it is. Thank you, Manny. Also, this is a learning partner school, and one of the reasons it's a learning partner school is we do think that what they're doing as a community school is extraordinary. And one of the major features is because this is also voiced by parents in terms of what they needed here. This was not imposed on parents, but it brought parents to the table. And Cynthia, I had to say that, otherwise someone's going to write me an email. And I think that is what a community school is, and I don't want to take it away from people. But a community school is not about a principal or a mayor or a chancellor deciding what a school needs. It's about the community deciding what it needs. And I think what you see here and in many of the other community schools I visit, some extraordinary work done because of the needs of that specific community. And what I see here is also some of the best providers in the system. My God, we go back a very long time, some of us. And that means you're also going to have quality after school. This is not babysitting. This is not plugging the holes. This is really taking the people who are masters at what they do. Lucy and I go back 20 years at least. Sister Paulette and I, we won't even talk about it. But I do think also for parents who are listening out there, the after-school program is a way to get your children involved in things that they may not have during the school day, or even more importantly, anyone who's gone through a teenager understands that it's the year, 7th grade in particular, where you would prefer to have them in boarding school than living in your home. But then you also want them, if they're living in your home, engaged as long as possible in something that's meaningful. And one of the things I've been blown away, and I think adding today, to the fact that we have arts in our after-school programs, we're going to have physical education. All the things that are missing or not enough of, you're going to have more of. And I think that's really, really crucial. And wouldn't you rather have your kids doing that than wondering where they are? And I think that certainly the extended day is part of that. The other big thing about extended day is it allows kids to really focus in on working with another adult in ways they're not being judged. When you work with teachers, as good as they are, they're going to evaluate you in some way. After-school program is a way of students to work in a smaller group with another adult. Our Teen Thursdays, our evaluation on that, the best results were every teenager said, I got to know my teacher in a more personal way, and in many cases the principals went along also to me. So this is very, very important. I think going through the summer is crucial. I really do think that, and I think community schools also offer a way for parents not to have to search where they get the services. It's all in one place. But the mayor asked me also to put this in Spanish, so I'll do my best. And Ruben, feel free to jump in. Para los padres que están escuchando, la cosa más importante de lo que anunciaron hoy, que vais a tener oportunidades para poner los chiquillos que están en los grados 6, 7 y 8 en la escuela después de las 3 de la tarde. Pero para ponerlos en la escuela, para hacer cosas como música, arte, gimnasio, tenéis que registrar. Si no estáis registrados, no podéis estar en estas oportunidades. La cosa más importante es que las escuelas van a mandar una página, solamente una página que tenéis que firmar y mandar con el nombre para poder saber dónde van a ser las oportunidades más cerca de vuestras casas para mandar a los niños, no solamente después de la escuela, pero hasta en programas de verano. Y saber también que en muchas escuelas, en muchas partes de la ciudad, vais a tener escuelas que van a tener doctores, dentistas, gente que os va a ayudar con la dieta. Y eso es una cosa muy importante porque este alcalde sabe que no podéis hacer todo en casa y que nosotros no podemos hacer todo durante las 9 y las 3 de la tarde. Muchísimas gracias y acordaros de registrar.
Our Chancellor has been working with Deputy Mayor Bury and Bill Chong, our Commissioner of the Department of Youth and Community Development. They've been doing an incredible job in teamwork to put together the summer enrichment programs and the after-school programs for the fall. It's been a great example of agencies working together. And Richard, thank you for your leadership, bringing all the pieces together. Now I'd like to give you a chance to hear from the leading expert in our administration on the impact of after-school, and DYCD has such a great history on this, our Commissioner Bill Chong.
I want to first thank the mayor for his leadership and his commitment to young people. I think this investment is huge. Having been working for the city for a number of years, I've seen the ups and downs in after school, and many of the providers have lived through that, the ups and downs. But this investment will impact a generation of young people, and that's something I think we have to acknowledge. And it truly has taken a village to create this new system, and I want to thank many of our partners who have made this possible. First of all, the Chancellor, who has led the way in getting principals on board. The reason we have 271 new programs is because the Chancellor has reached out personally to principals and encouraged them and educated them about the value of after-school programs. The very first after-school program I visited with the mayor and the chancellor was up here in the Bronx, I think not that far from here, and it's a phrase that I've stolen from the chancellor many times. She talked about the joy of learning, that after-school programs help bring back the joy in learning. And, you know, as adults, we learn in different ways, and with young people, it is no different. And so we have to make the programs relevant, fun, engaging, and that's what the summer programs do, especially because you have more time, you can do more field trips. And so I want to thank the Chancellor for her leadership, because without the principals, this program will not be successful. We know from many years of experience that the first step to a successful program is a strong partnership between the principal and the nonprofit, and that has happened through this process. I want to thank Commissioner Bassett and her staff and the Department of Cultural Affairs. They've helped build the scaffolding for this system. And I want to thank the providers who fought for this for the last 10 years. Their passion for young people has inspired us. It's kept us focused. It's kept us on time. And I want to finally thank our staff, who's somewhere in the back there, because we did all this. We did a similar process a decade ago. It took us 18 months. We did it in 4 months. And unfortunately, the reward for all their hard work is more hard work. But thank you again. And there's one last plug about the summer enrollment. The form that the mayor showed is online on our website. You can fill it out, and it's a fillable form. So we encourage.
Tell them all the ways they can get information.
Well, they can call 311, and our website is www.dycd.nyc.gov, right?
Wait, do it again. Richard, relief pitcher.
You know, I'm not a website guy.
It's www.nyc.gov/DYCD. Okay? Thank you very much.
Your cameo appearance.
We brought him in to pitch to one batter. That was very good. Let's do it again. www.nyc.gov/DYCD. That's how you get information on the summer enrichment programs and the after-school programs for the fall, or you can call 311. They have all the information. They're ready, right? Good. With that, always doing quality control, okay? Can't do enough of that, right? Okay. We've had a great friend and ally in all of our efforts to help children. He has been forceful and focused, and every time we've said we need help getting this done, we need help reaching people in neighborhoods all over the Bronx, he's been there for us. Great friend, the Borough President of the Bronx, Ruben Diaz, Jr.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First, let me just say that it was a pleasure to see you so uncomfortable singing that song you had to sing on television. Because we are from New York, and New York is the best city no matter what, right? And we have a wonderful mayor in Mayor de Blasio, It's only fitting that we're having this announcement here in the Bronx, right here in this campus. This campus, I believe, serves as a microcosm for the mayor's macro image or vision as it pertains to educating our youth. And that takes not only those in the pedagogical field, but also working with the Commissioner of Youth Services, working with the Health Commissioner, working with providers, making sure that the parents are involved. And this is what happens here. And when you speak of this announcement and how this money is going to give the opportunity for more Bronxites, more Bronx kids, and of course New Yorkers, to be able to have the opportunity to go into a school building during the summer months, to go into a school building after school starting next year, that for me is long overdue. It's long overdue, and then the reality, yes, the providers know that. Many of us in this area with this conversation, we have felt left out. Many of us have felt that our cries have fallen upon deaf ears in the past. And with Mayor de Blasio, and let me just say something about this chancellor. I don't know if she's doing the same thing in other boroughs. I think that other boroughs are going to get jealous, but she's always in the Bronx. She's a breath of fresh air. We love her. And we don't have to be melancholy about speaking about after-school programs. We don't have to say, our kids, we're going to stop them from getting in trouble. The fact of the matter is that this could be fun. Our children, when given the resources and the time and the attention, we have children here and throughout the city of New York who are diamonds in the rough. And many of them want to go into art. Many of them want to go into music. Many of them just want to have a good time with special adults in their lives, whether it's their parents or their educators. And this, Mr. Mayor, is going to afford them that opportunity so that we can polish up our diamonds and they can go on and conquer the world, right? And that's why we're so happy. Before I say something in Spanish as the borough president, and I hope that News 12 gets this, parents who are not in this room, a lot of folks are always complaining about government and what government does or is not doing or should be doing. Under the mayor's leadership, government now is doing. It is incumbent upon the parents now to register, do it with UPK, do it with the summer programs, do it for after school. Don't complain to me. Don't complain to me. We've already spoke to the chancellor. We've spoken to all the commissioners. We have conversations with the mayor, and the mayor made this announcement here in the Bronx, and it is now incumbent upon folks to go and register their kids and take advantage of these wonderful opportunities. Brevemente en el español, al alcalde de Blasio le quiero dar las gracias por hacer este anuncio aquí en el condado de La Salsa, el condado del Bronx. Nosotros nos sentimos sumamente orgullosos de tenerlo aquí, porque para nosotros ya por tanto tiempo, lamentablemente, en el condado del Bronx y yo sé en otros sectores de la ciudad de Nueva York, nos sentimos que el edificio, los edificios de educación han estado cerrados para nuestros niños fuera de las horas de educación. Y ahora con este anuncio nos dan la oportunidad a los padres específicamente para poder traer a sus hijos, para poder seguir con sus talentos. Muchos de nuestros niños tienen talentos, pero a veces ni quisieran saber dónde ir. Nuestros padres aquí están orgullosos de los servicios que suceden en este campo, en este edificio, pero con este anuncio, con este dinero, nosotros ahora le vamos a dar esta oportunidad a muchos más, no solamente en el condado del Bronx, sino a nivel de la ciudad de Nueva York. Y también le queremos dar las gracias a la canciller de la ciudad de Nueva York, del Departamento de Educación, que por muchos, desde que empezó, ha estado aquí en nuestro condado. Yo sé que los otros condados se van a poner celosos, pero por lo menos nos gusta y nos sentimos bien que la canciller Fariña está pasando mucho tiempo aquí en el condado del Bronx y por eso le queremos dar las gracias. Y por final le quiero decir a los padres que muchos se quejan de lo que el gobierno está haciendo o no está haciendo. No se quejen ahora. Ya hemos hablado con la canciller, con los comisionados, con el alcalde de Blasio y por fin tenemos los recursos. Ahora la responsabilidad cae en los padres que se tienen que registrar Registrar a los niños no solamente para pre-kindergarten, sino los programas del verano y también de los programas después de que se cierren las escuelas. Ahora, como se dice, la responsabilidad cae en esos padres. Señor alcalde, le queremos dar las gracias. Thank you all. Thank you.
We have one more speaker, then we will take questions on these topics, then we will take questions off topic. But before the next speaker, I just want to thank a man who's been a great friend and ally, all of our efforts to help children. Thank him for his work in support of these efforts in the City Council. Councilmember Andrew Cohen, thank you so much. Finally, I'd like to introduce Esperanza Vasquez. I want to tell you a little about Esperanza. Get ready, Esperanza. Get ready. I know all about when your cue comes and you have to sing. You don't have to sing, though. It's going to be much easier. So, Esperanza is the PTA president at MS 327. She is, you can clap for that. Hardworking single mother of 2 young men, the youngest currently in the 7th grade here. Esperanza came to this country, like so many New Yorkers today and so many New Yorkers before, seeking a better life for her children. And she has worked very hard to achieve that. She's worked as a babysitter, as a flower vendor, as a janitor, whatever it took, and found the time to be involved in the school, and been a PTA leader in every one of her children's schools. That is something that we should appreciate. I like to uphold the many, many, many parents in this town who, no matter what's thrown at them, they put in that extra effort to help their children. It's one of the reasons New York City is so great, but they often don't get the thanks they deserve. So Esperanza is going to be a representative today of so many other hardworking parents who do the right thing. Let's welcome her and thank her. Esperanza Vasquez.
Bienvenidos al alcalde Bill de Blasio, a Carmen Fariña, la canciller Carmen Fariña, al alcalde diputado Richard Bury, al comisionado Bill Chong. Bienvenidos también a los elegidos y otros invitados. Soy Esperanza Vázquez, madre de 2 hijos y presidenta de la MS 327, líder del Comité Padres en Acción de New Solomon y la Coalición para la Justicia Educativa CEJ. Hoy es un gran día porque por mucho tiempo hemos estado esperando y significa cambio para todos los estudiantes de la ciudad de Nueva York, particularmente los del Bronx. Las iniciativas de la escuela comunitaria y programas de afterschool para las escuelas intermedias representan un paso al futuro para nuestros niños.
Welcome, Mayor de Blasio, Chancellor Carmen Fariña, and Deputy Mayor Richard Bury, as well as Commissioner Bill Chong. Welcome also to the elected officials and guests that are here with us. I am Esperanza Vasquez. I am a mother of 2 children, president of MS 327, and a leader with the Parent Action Committee in New Settlement Apartments, and also a leader with the Coalition of Educational Justice, or CEJ. Today, I'd like to say, is a great day that we've been waiting for a long time. It means change for all our students here in New York City, and particularly those of the Bronx. The initiatives, the new schools, the new community school initiatives and programs, and the after-school programs that were announced for middle schools represent a great step forward to the future of our children.
Como madre he visto el poder de los programas en las vidas de mis hijos. El MS 327, donde mi hijo ha estado por 2 años, es un ejemplo de una escuela comunitaria. El campus fue fundado por New Solomon, conjuntamente con el Departamento de Educación y muchos otros representantes electos, con una visión del compromiso de tener una buena educación para nuestra comunidad.
As a mother, I've seen the power that these programs can have in the lives of children, my own included. In MS-327, where my child has been for the last 2 years, I can tell you that this is an example of what a community school is. The campus was founded by New Settlement Apartments in conjunction with the Department of Education and many elected officials with a vision and a commitment to have a good level of education for our community.
Hoy, en un día en nuestra escuela tiene una clínica de Montefiore, programas de comida fresca saludable, natación para cada estudiante, programas de arte y preparación universitaria para cada estudiante de high school.
Today, our school has a Montefiore clinic within it. It has a fresh food program, and it has swimming for every student, art programs, and college prep for every student that's in high school.
La única cosa que faltaba en esta escuela fue un programa de afterschool, pero estoy contenta porque esta escuela y otras escuelas intermedias a través de la ciudad van a poder ofrecer estos apoyos a los estudiantes. Cuando mi hijo mayor estaba en la escuela intermedia, tuve que buscar estos programas de afterschool fuera de la escuela, pero ya con esta iniciativa los estudiantes van a enriquecer su conocimiento y desarrollar sus capacidades y ser buenos estudiantes.
The only thing that was missing in this school was an after-school program. But today I'm pleased because it's going to be included in this school as well as many other middle schools throughout the city. They're going to be able to offer from now on these supports to students. When my oldest child was in middle school, I had to search for these programs outside of the school. But through this initiative, students are going to have an opportunity to enrich their knowledge and develop their capacities of being good students.
Un buen ejemplo de cómo los niños van a beneficiar de esta iniciativa es mi hijo Grover, cuando entró a esta escuela con un nivel de lectura del 3er grado, pero con el apoyo individual de los maestros y ayuda de los programas de New Settlement, él ha mejorado y ya tiene la capacidad de leer de acuerdo a su nivel y tiene la confianza de participar en su aula.
A good example of how these programs are going to benefit our students is my own son, Grover. He entered the school with a reading level of a 3rd grader, but now with the support of individual teachers and programs at New Settlement, he's improved. And now he has the ability to read at grade level, and he has the confidence to participate in the classroom.
Con esta iniciativa estamos empezando la lucha larga de cerrar la brecha educativa de nuestra gran ciudad, encaminar a los estudiantes, los próximos profesionales de la ciudad de Nueva York, incluidos mis hijos. Muchas gracias a todos.
Through this initiative, we are beginning to put our children on the path toward closing the educational gap in our great city and to put our children on the professional path that New York City should have, including my own children. Thank you very much.
All right, let's take questions on these topics. Yes. Louder.
What is going to define a community school according to the parameters you guys are setting? Like, is it just X number of wraparound helps and social services or what else? And are they going to be exclusively in low-income neighborhoods or is it combined?
Okay, so I'm going to start. Carmen, Richard, whoever wants to jump in, feel free. The definition, from my point of view, and I saw this with my own eyes and somewhat Children's Aid Society has done, I certainly saw it with my own eyes in Cincinnati, I was absolutely blown away, is providing a range of services that address children's needs and family needs. So, for example, on the children's needs, by having the health services, not just physical health, mental health services available in the school, it makes a world of difference in terms of addressing whatever a child is experiencing. There's no delay, there's no bureaucracy, it's right there. By definition, that also helps the parents to become more involved with the school and more involved with their child's education and more involved in addressing whatever their children's needs are. So that's just one example of how compelling it is. To me, it is not just the actual service that's provided, it's that it changes the model towards a deeper engagement between the school and the parents, the school and the whole family. You can add all sorts of things on top of that. And we've all, for a long time, wanted to see school buildings used by the fuller community more deeply, and this is certainly a gateway to that. But in essence, it is about the deeper ability to address children's needs and to bring the families into the schools. It's something that is particularly needed in lower-income communities, but it's something that every kind of community benefits from, and we're certainly looking over time to keep expanding across a whole range of communities. Richard, okay.
So thank you. I'll just add a brief thought. I would not think of a community school as simply a menu of programs that would be replicated at every site. Fundamentally, a community school is a school that has a strategy for addressing the many challenges and barriers that can stand in the way of a child being able to come to school ready to learn. So the challenges that a community may face will vary from community to community. The resources that are available in that community will vary. Ultimately, a community school is a school that is committed to saying that if a child comes to school hungry, we're going to have a strategy for getting them fed. If a child is coming to school sick, we're going to have a strategy for keeping them healthy. Because ultimately, a school that has those resources in play is a school that's going to be able to meet the needs of every child that comes into the building. So what you'll see is that schools will typically have things like school-based health clinics or mental health services or after-school programs or GED programs for parents. But it will vary based on the community needs. And one of the central characteristics is a school that is connected to the various institutions in the community so that those services can be delivered more effectively and more efficiently and more comprehensively so that families don't have to go around running to figure out where those services are, but those services are integrated as part of the school community.
Can I just add something?
Of course. Let me be your step master there.
I think knowing the service providers here and the rest of the city, there's one also very important thing. Many of our communities do not have a place to hang out, and I'm saying that in the nicest possible way. And I'm really convinced that adolescents in particular need a place to just relax, be socialized, and learn the most important thing, that's an emotional connection. But parents need the same thing. When I come here to visit in other community-based schools, one of the things I see a parent room. I see a place where you guys can meet and have coffee. And that's something that, particularly in New York City, that many people live in very small spaces, and to have a place to go and socialize and, you bring your own coffee necessarily, is really something very important. People feel sometimes totally frustrated by not having someone of their peers, be the peer another parent, or be an older brother. So I think that's another part. Community school means just that. How do you build a community? It also means that sometimes you're available open on weekends, that this is not just a 5-day a week, but it's actually 7-day a week. In this particular site, they're almost open every single day and at all hours. So it really is, how do you use a center such as this to do anything a community would do and do it better?
Yes.
Is there a long-term plan to expand universal pre-kindergarten to 3-year-olds?
There's not a plan on the table yet. We obviously have a series of very ambitious goals in terms of a full-day pre-K for all, after school for all middle school students, the 100 community schools in the first term. In terms of where I'd like to see us evolve as a city and as a society, I'd like to see us do a lot more for 3-year-olds. But we don't have a plan yet because we first have to achieve our core set of plans before we can work on others. Yes.
Mr. Mayor, with the expansion in services and medical services and other weekend hours, how expensive is it to run a community school as opposed to an ordinary?
I'll let the experts speak to the specifics. I'll simply say this. In this case, we're starting with some state grant money, which we're very appreciative of. It's something we'll build out with a variety of sources over time. I believe this in my heart. This is such a smart investment. The multiplier effect on this investment is extraordinary. You help children to learn better because of the involvement of their parents and families. You help the parents and families to be better at supporting their children at home, nights, weekends, in terms of their homework and their educational trajectory. You catch health problems of all sorts earlier and address them better. There's not only huge cost savings because of the investment, humanly, morally, it's an extraordinarily sound investment because it helps our children to actually realize their potential and not be held back because the helping hand wasn't there for them. So I think the economics play out very positively here. You want to?
So I'll just add that dollars invested in community schools are among the most effectively leveraged dollars you can invest in education. Because again, part of what you have to remember is in each of these communities, there's already investments being made in after school, there's already investments being made in arts and healthcare, and all the services that children need. But often what's missing is a coordinated strategy that brings all those services together. So it's not fundamentally about new money or new programs, it's fundamentally about coordinating resources that they're delivered more effectively. And one of my favorite quotes about community schools, I apply it to community schools, is the old joke when they asked Willie Sutton, why do you rob banks? And he said, because that's where the money is. The strategy is that you bring services to schools because that's where the children and families are. And so it's about connecting those services, bringing them so that a struggling family doesn't have to figure out the 10, 20 different places you have to go. At my previous employer, the Children's Aid Society, we recently did a study which looked at the social return on investment of dollars invested in community schools and found significant multiplier effects, that a dollar invested in that coordinating strategy really had massive effects on how efficiently services were delivered and how effectively they were delivered on families moving forward.
And I'll just borrow from the Chancellor, who just reminded me that the impact in terms of attendance is also extraordinary. Remember, we have a huge, complex school system. We put a huge amount of money into it, but if kids don't actually walk through the door, that massive investment doesn't have the impact it should have for those children who aren't there each day. So we know that the community school model helps to improve attendance. For one reason, because it's a more engaging model, it serves children better. For another reason, it gets at some of the things that might keep kids away from school legitimately, like health challenges. For a third reason, because the parents become much deeper allies in education, it helps them to know what's going on better and to be on top of anything where a child might be not attending. So when you improve attendance, you improve the effectiveness of the whole educational process. You also keep kids from ending up on the wrong path. And we know that a lot of why, sadly, our young people end up in trouble with the law is because we are not providing good enough alternatives and we're not addressing some of their core needs. The better we do that, the better we do at keeping them away from trouble in terms of the kind of mischief that would lead them to problems with the law. That is, again, humanly an amazing achievement every time we get a young person and put them on the right path and keep them away from the wrong path. There's obviously a huge cost when we fail to do that, in corrections and a whole number of other areas, in policing and a whole number of other areas. So there's a great economic rationale for this.
To follow up on Rich's question, is there no cost difference right now between a community school and a traditional school? Is the cost equal to the city?
No, more to it. John?
Sure. I mean, I think it's difficult to generalize that answer because different schools will have different services based on the need of the community. But we can certainly get you more information about cost models on community schools. But again, there is not one cookie-cutter model. For the grant that the mayor is announcing, that grant provides on average $300,000 for each of the schools who will participate. And the idea that money could be used both to deliver services, but also to coordinate and leverage other services that may already exist in the community to deliver them more efficiently to children and families.
And do you know the cost of this particular school?
At this school, I couldn't speak, but I'm sure the folks from New Settlement can get that information to you.
The teachers union was very involved in the community school promotion, and I know you mentioned the Cincinnati trip. I know they were behind the Cincinnati trip.
Yep.
Is there a reason that they aren't here today or a part of this particular announcement?
We're going to work with them as we play out this larger strategy, and I think there is a tremendous amount of involvement in terms of the UFT's desire to see this model work. And I think the reason is simple, because it improves the educational dynamic for everyone. It certainly brings parents in more deeply. I think it makes it more possible for teachers to teach effectively, and I think there's a true belief that this is the shape of things to come. So we're doing this announcement the same way we would do any other announcement, but I can certainly say that they're going to be important actors in this and helping us achieve this. Yes?
You
You mentioned Cincinnati as a model. There are community schools there. Some of the schools that have been doing this for the longest, though, have had limited academic gains in terms of test scores. Is that a goal here? Are you hoping that the community schools here will have academic gains, test scores increase? And if so, how are you going to measure?
I will start, and the Chancellor may want to weigh in. I think everyone knows I do not pray at the altar of high-stakes testing. So, thank you. Test scores are one measure. There are many other measures that give us a true sense of how a young person is doing. So I would take the question and turn it a little bit. I would say, we want children to succeed. I am convinced that this model helps them succeed. I'm convinced it helps them be healthier. I'm convinced it brings families more into the educational process. I think we have to constantly check to see if we're achieving our larger goals. So, for example, some of you asked in some of our previous sessions if we're going to be testing the results of our pre-K programs and our after-school programs to see what the outcomes. Of course we are. We believe fundamentally in these investments we're making. We think they're proven many times over by a lot of research and a lot of experience here and around the country. But we constantly are going to look to get the quality levels right, to make adjustments. So there'll be ongoing study, there'll be ongoing quality control. But it will not be about simply a single set of test scores. That will never be the way we make our final decisions. Want to add?
First of all, the main goal of education is to make sure kids get an education and to be able to get a job ultimately. But they can't do that if they're sick. They can't do that if they're hungry. They can't do that if they don't have a place to do their homework. And they can't do that if they don't have an adult who cares about them deeply enough to become a mentor. So we expect that there will be progress, but it doesn't happen overnight. But these are all the steps to get there.
On topic. Yes.
Can you give some more examples of other programs that might be available in community schools?
Okay, so we talked about the physical and mental health. We talked about, jump in.
We can do this together.
Do it together.
We do a lot of things together.
Teamwork.
Okay.
Start a new routine.
We're not going to sing. I don't sing. I think, first of all, we certainly, and requested, depending on the skills and the base of it, certainly we requested more phys ed. We know that physical education is important, particularly in middle school. We certainly want to see more arts programs, and I think we're going to see a lot more of that, because if a kid's put on a performance, parents will show up, and that's really an important part. I mean, that's certainly I've been seeing a lot around here in the Bronx. And I think also the other thing we want to see a lot more of is things like Legos, robotics, programs that inspire kids in ways where they do academics without even realizing they're doing academics. STEM programs. Went to see Sal Fernandez, wonderful STEM program. So these are all after-school programs that I think are crucial to success.
Yeah, I'll add, and I'm sorry to be repetitive, but often schools will include comprehensive medical, dental services, mental health services. Often we'll have early childhood programs that are inside the building, well integrated in the school system, in the school day, so that children can enter an early childhood program, then the pre-kindergarten program, and go right to kindergarten. But fundamentally, what you will find in a given school should be based on the interests and needs of the children, the families, and the resources in the community. So again, every community school you walk into should look different, because fundamentally it's a school that should be responsive to the needs of the community. But those are some of the programs that you might find in a well-designed community school.
On top.
This isn't exactly on topic, but you mentioned...
We're watching you closely, Henry.
You mentioned high-stakes testing, and you know that in the legislature there's a move afoot to broaden the criteria for acceptance into some of the specialized high schools away from high-stakes testing. And I'm wondering whether you agree with that move, and also whether you want to reinstate the Discovery program, which would at least reserve maybe 15% of places for kids who...
Let's see if Phil Walczak will allow the question. Close enough? Phil allows it, okay. Ever since you played that role as a Jeopardy host in the inner circle, I'm trying to keep it consistent there. I think we have to change the admissions process for our specialized high schools across the board. And that will take some time, by definition. But I, again, do not believe that a single test should be the determinant. particularly of something that's so life-changing for so many young people. We have to determine what combination of measures would be fair. These are schools that demand, rightly, a high-quality level, and by definition, we will maintain a very high-quality level, a very high bar for admissions, but we want to look at the whole child. And there are some kids who excel at standardized testing. There are some kids who are incredibly great writers or creative thinkers or artistic, and we need to represent that whole spectrum, and we know how to do that in ways that are other than standardized testing. I do think on the point about programs that can help prepare kids and maximize opportunity for some kids who have not had as much opportunity, that's good too. And so we'll mix and match the approaches, but the bottom line is I ultimately want to get us away from a single test as the determinant. Do you want to add?
We already have the Discovery program in many of our schools, and we're exploring extending it to other schools. And it really, just so people understand, it's a rigorous program. It's not something that pacifies kids or parents. This is kids who sign up in 6th grade and do it every 6th, 7th, and 8th grade after school, and also are involved during the summer. So this is a very rigorous program that gives kids a lot of extra support to take the standardized test.
One more on topic, and then we'll go to off. Hold on. That is not a disqualifying buzzer. Phil Walzak, the question will be allowed.
Summer enrichment programs, you specifically talk about, are these new spaces, new programs, or additional spaces to existing programs, and what these will look like?
Okay, so just a fact before I call up Richard and Bill is 17,000 new seats. 17,000, just stay on the first part, I'll go into the details. 17,000 seats. So we were slotted originally for 17,000 seats for middle school kids for summer enrichment. This program, we have doubled that to 34,000. Now, as to the configuration, Bill Chong.
Yeah, the 17,000 that are increased at our existing programs, they're basically our community centers, school-based community centers, beacons, our community centers in public housing, cornerstones, and there's existing school-based programs. We felt that that was the fastest way to ramp up in such a short time.
Okay, we'll go to off topic.
Mr. Mayor, the head of ISIS, the jihadist Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, who was released in prison in 2009, said, "I will see you in New York City." Now that ISIS has roughly $2 billion in veteran soldiers, several elected American officials and experts said that ISIS is a possible potential terrorist threat to New York City in 1 year. Is this something that you and your administration are dealing with? And also, will you be discussing this possibility with President Obama today or in the future with the federal government?
Well, we're certainly aware of the statements that he made. We don't take any threat lightly. I've said many times, we know we are sadly the #1 terror target in the world. That continues. That will continue for quite a while. And we plan with that assumption in mind. We resource the NYPD with that assumption in mind. And we are constantly vigilant because we know of that reality. So we're quite aware of the statements that he's made. We're quite aware of the growth of this organization. And it's something that I talk to Commissioner Bratton about regularly. And when it's appropriate to talk to our federal partners, we do. But rest assured, we're quite vigilant in this situation.
Blasio, this is a bit of a silly question, but yesterday you had the World Cup picture, and your hair looked a little lighter.
Okay, this is the most interesting issue that's come up in a while. Now, I don't know how the photographer involved, Rob Bennett, managed to make my hair look lighter, but my hair has not changed between yesterday and today. So, Phil, I want a full investigation of what Rob did to that photo. If we have me with green hair tomorrow, we'll know who the culprit is. But no, my hair has not changed. Yes?
Update us on the city's negotiations with CW Capital from Stuyvesant Town to Cooper Village, where we're at with that, and what the city hopes to accomplish.
We're very clear that our job is to ensure affordability at Stuytown going forward. And that is imperative for us because this is one of the biggest concentrations of affordable housing in the city. I don't feel good about the history here in the sense that I think the city did not play the role it should have in the past decade in terms of defending this affordable housing. We are actively engaged with CW Capital in terms of the work necessary to defend affordable housing. We're very appreciative that Senator Schumer has played such an active role, and we appreciate the actions of the federal housing lenders, where we have a real agreement that nothing will be approved in the way of federal lending if the affordable housing needs of New York City are not addressed. So I think we're in a strong position right now because of the early engagement with CW Capital, because of the federal support we're being provided. A lot of work to do, but it's a very, very high priority for us.
Mr. Mayor, you worked really hard with religiously affiliated places that wanted to do pre-kindergarten programs. And you've got this 6-hour and 20-minute day in place. The state stay is a little bit shorter at 5 hours. Are you worried that religious education could easily bleed into that 6 hours and 20 minutes? Since with a 4-year-old, I mean, can you really do it before or after? I mean, you can't keep them in school all day.
Our program is 6 hours and 20 minutes. That's how that's the standard. And so the rules of the road here for any organization, a community-based organization, a charter school, a Catholic school, a yeshiva, everyone understands there's one standard. It's 6 hours and 20 minutes. And as you know, the DOE has worked with religious schools before on pre-K with a clear standard that it has to be separated from any religious instruction. There's lots of quality control. There's lots of monitoring. If a school doesn't make that separation, they won't be allowed to continue in the program. But we think that the schools we've talked to understand that that's how this works, and they are going to follow those rules.
There are a number of people who are calling for a 0% hike in rents, when the rent guidelines were voted this year. I was wondering what you think, I assume you've heard both arguments on this case.
Well, look, I think the Rent Guidelines Board job is to look at a lot of information and decide what makes sense, first and foremost, based on the actual facts, the actual numbers. I have urged very clearly and consistently that they think deeply about the affordability crisis afflicting our city. And the fact that even in some of the years when people were hurting the most in the last few years, rent levels approved by the Rent Guidelines Board previously were quite high. So I've certainly urged them to look at all those factors. It is a body that has a lot more work to do before it makes its final determination. As you know, there's a wide range of views on that body. But my hope is that they will make a decision based on the numbers and one that also addresses the affordability crisis.
As public advocate, you made it a big point to grade different agencies on their responses to FOIL. I'm wondering how you would grade your own administration's response this far.
I'm not an expert on how we've handled each request, but from what I've seen so far, we have worked consistently to be responsive. As you know, we're going to be transparent about the requests we've received, which is going to allow everyone to see the timeline that they're on. I think that's a huge step forward and one you do not see in very many governments. But I also will say, I knew this before, I know it even more now, that each request is individual. Each one has particular dynamics, and we're going to follow the law in every request and look at each one individually. But I like the fact that we're being very open about the timelines involved.
Was there a letter grade at that?
I don't have a letter grade for you today, but I'm pleased with our efforts so far.
Police Commissioner Bratton recently compared, subway dance crews, what he called acrobats, as he said they were a sign of urban decay, of decline of quality of life, sort of akin to the squeegee men that used to kind of haunt Times Square. I'm kind of wondering, first of all, do you agree? And so how are subway dance crews a sign of declining quality of life?
Well, I would say it in my own words. I think we have an obligation to make sure that people are safe wherever they go in the city, including in the subways, that there is an orderly environment, and that we have to hold, a single set of standards for everyone. So I think what the commissioner has pointed to throughout his career is you can't be selective. If someone is violating a law or a rule, there has to be enforcement. Now, there's officer discretion. We know in many cases a warning might suffice. But the point is, we have to set a standard where the city is functioning well and is orderly, and I share that view with the commissioner. Yes.
For schools that are struggling and that have been struggling for a long time, is one option to create a special district for them, just the struggling schools, to give them extra support? And then after you've given them that support, is it an option still to close them?
A couple of things, and I'll turn to the Chancellor. I mean, first of all, as you know, we have a moratorium on closures because the previous administration's policy on closures I thought was counterproductive. I thought a lot of schools were closed while there's still an opportunity to fix what was wrong. And I think when you close a school, there are lots of unintended consequences. And so our approach is going to be much more focused on fixing the problem. We've talked about the kinds of teams of personnel we're going to send into those schools, in many cases a new principal, new assistant principals, new master teachers, who can really give a revamping to the approach in that school and give it a chance to succeed. Once we have a new process in place for addressing school recovery, we're also obviously going to have standards and timelines, and if we feel after applying all the tools we have in a reasonable time frame that we can't fix the problem, then we will move to a closure. But it's a very different approach. We want to exhaust all of our approaches and resources first before we jump to a closure. I think that's pretty much the opposite approach from the previous administration. I'd like to.
First of all, I wouldn't want to have a district named after me unless it was really an excellent district. So there is no intention whatsoever of having a chancellor's district that puts struggling schools together. And every school that struggles for a different reason. So I would say one of the major changes that we've made is that every school that we want to support, because that really is the word that we're using, the first rule of thumb is we're actually visiting it, the school in its entirety. We're not looking at schools as a paper evaluation, but how do we physically visit every single school? And we have already just about completed that. And then once we visit and analyze, we will decide what specific support it needs. But if anything, these are schools that really value their teachers in many cases. So we're going to, again, support struggle and no chancellor's district unless it's going to be full of exciting schools.
Mr. Mayor, your administration is trying to lower the Democratic National Convention in 2016. Two-part question. One would be, what sort of political symbolism are you trying to convey by basing it in Brooklyn rather than Manhattan? And secondly, if she runs, Hillary Clinton, who you know quite well, would perhaps be the favorite to be the nominee. Has there been any coordination between your camp and hers about the bid?
No, we are adamant that we think a Democratic National Convention in New York City is good for New York City. We think it's an incredible opportunity to show what we have to a national audience. We think it's something that we can produce effectively and in a cost-efficient manner, which is different from other types of events that, as I've said in the past, spiral out of control. This is one we know how to do. We know how to do well. We've done it a lot of times in this city. It comes with a lot of benefits to us. And I think it's very exciting that we will give the world a better view of Brooklyn, another chance to see all the amazing things that are happening in Brooklyn. I love all 5 boroughs. My home borough is very important to me, and I think it has so much to offer that having the convention in Brooklyn, having it in a beautiful arena, will be great for the Democratic Party and I think great for New York City. So we made this decision based on what we thought were the needs of New York City. We don't know who the nominee is going to be, but whoever the nominee is, it's going to be a great opportunity for the Democratic Party to achieve a successful convention. Thanks, everyone.